Listen to my podcast about sports.
Howdy, Ags. Welcome to the tailgate, home of Aggie football. We got a full house in today. Philip still on the pod, doing his duties, and my boy C-Money with a vengeance. What's up, brother? What you eating on, man? What you munching on? Tell us about what you got going on over there.
Oh man, I just finished it. It was pizza. My wife made pizza from scratch.
From scratch.
Sourdough crust and everything, and put a little sauce and a bunch of cheese. She calls it stinky cheese on the top. It's just like Parmesan. She sprinkles it on.
I don't know if I like anything that says stinky cheese on it, but whatever.
She loves it.
The best kind of cheese is stinky cheese, you know?
Says the guy that loves him some blue cheese. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by Frida Homes, building Aggie dreams, custom home builders with over 15 years of experience in the Brazos Valley. If you're looking for someone that cares about you and the details you care about, contact Justin Frida at 979-450-4466. When you call, just remember, everybody loves their Frida Homes.
The Frida Homes.
Love it, love it, love it. Don't forget, folks, email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Visit us on the YouTube. Subscribe. What do we got to do, Philip?
Smash it.
Love it. All right, guys. So, look, we're going to continue to talk a little bit of spring football. But first, I wanted to get a couple of news and notes here. You know, we went into Aggie baseball quite a bit last time. So, you know, they're doing well, 29-4, number 3 overall behind Arkansas Clemson. We're just going to move on from Aggie baseball. We'll talk a little bit more about that in time.
Can I just say Appel had 3 home runs last game? Can we at least give him a little shout out?
I love it. Jackson Appel, named after the Texas A&M safety from a few years back. And 3 home runs in a game that went extra innings, right? Or they went late.
Yeah, walk off. He walked it off with this 3 home run.
Pretty impressive.
Worst game the Aggies played all year. Worst game. Defensively, it was ugly. They got lucky. Good job, Aggies.
Gotta win. Hey,
glad they won.
Next couple of weekends. This weekend, Vandy, obviously highly ranked team, number 6 or 8, somewhere there. Bama, another good team out in the SEC the next weekend. So next couple of weekends, pretty tough matchups for the Aggies. They'll continue to have to prove it, right?
Oh yeah.
I want to do a quick mention out on track and field, by the way. Track and field. You know, we've been talking a little bit of shit about track and field because Bryce Foster's out there throwing the shot put instead of playing football. But let's give him a little credit. Apparently, the men's track and field team ranked number 1 in the country. I'm also being told that the women's track and field team is also ranked number 1 in the country. So Coach Henry doing a phenomenal job with that group, as he always does. Men and women both doing exceptional. There's, just lots of wins. They're setting records, Aggie records, all kinds of stuff going on. 2 ladies, Chapman, Diston, they run the set the nation's leading marks this past week in the heptathlon and the high jump, respectively. So, nation's leading marks. What do you think, Phil?
What the heck is a heptathlon? Can you explain that, Mr. Track Coach?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you have to win. It's like 7 different events all together. Wow. Yeah. Hept, I think is 7. I could be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, Oct is 8. I don't know what 7 is, man. So.
Yeah, well, there you go. Just take it for what it is. What Corey? You got anything to put in on that?
Yeah, hep. It goes with hepatitis. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. That's something. Yeah, different, but okay.
Yeah. That's where all our NIL money's going right now, is to track and field. It's good.
Yeah, look.
Dig it.
Look. Coach Henry has got a history. I mean, they got more national championships in track than we do in, I think, all other sports combined. So the fact of the matter is, it's the one team that we can be pretty solid about feeling that, they're going to be good. They're going to put a good product on the field, and you can go cheer for those guys. And, the good thing about the indoor track is that you can watch the whole thing in one place, or the outdoor track.
Yeah.
track and field
Yeah.
stuff, right? You can watch it. It's not like cross country where you can watch them start and you can watch them finish, but you can't watch them run, right?
What's wrong with them?
So props out to the track and field teams. Just so you know, the men have got a big time high jumper, and they've got a guy running the decathlon. I think that's 10 events.
Yeah.
The 400 meter, a guy that's gonna compete for national championship in that, and Bryce Foster is gonna compete for a national championship in the shot put. There you go.
Oh, bless his heart.
Yeah, bless his
Here
heart.
comes the Olympics, baby.
There you go. All right, so we're moving on to football. We're moving on to football because this is a football podcast. So they tell me. Spring game, just a few weeks away at this point. Less than 2 weeks away. Actually, today's Thursday, Saturday, a week from this Saturday, spring game. So there's several practices through. They went through a scrimmage the other day, and on that Saturday, the spring game's at 1:00. They are drafting teams. So they're drafting teams. It's not going to be one of these setups where Jimbo sets the offense up against, the first team offense against the third team defense with all the defensive backs on the, on the bench or whatever. Not one of those. They're going to draft the teams, and they're going to play an actual game. There's going to be an actual.
Who's doing the draft? Who's doing the draft? Like, who's the coach of each side?
Yeah, who knows? We didn't get those kind of details. Didn't get those kind of details.
Don't need them.
But along that, with that in mind, let me ask you this: each one of you guys, if you've got the number one pick, who you taking?
Are you asking me and Phil? I'd take Reuben Owens first.
Reuben Owens, I like it. Phil,
I'd give him the ball every time.
By Walker.
Ooh, Jade.
Oh, dude, there's too many other receivers I think are as good or better than. I mean, I don't know how healthy Connor is, so I wouldn't take him off the back. There's two other quarterbacks that are, I think, pretty good. I like to watch them play.
Yeah, I mean, I would take Henderson actually for this, not for fall. Don't get me wrong, but for the spring game, I'd probably take Jalen over Connor because Connor's still not 100%. And I'd have him throw the
lineman, dude. I'm taking Trey Zoo. I may be taking maybe Nick Skirton. The defensive end,
the new guy from Purdue.
Oh yeah, stack that defense, baby.
I've heard that dude is
quarterbacks.
Killing it in spring practice. By the way,
he is.
Yeah, he is. He absolutely is. The dude's absolutely killing it. We're going to talk about him today, but I'm thinking I'd probably take somebody on defense. Actually, to be honest with you, I think we've got offensively let the chips fall where they fall. Let me stack my defense, man. I might go cornerback. I might go defensive end and Skirton. Maybe the defensive tackle in with Hicks or a Stewart. Maybe I don't know. Those.
Bryce Anderson wouldn't be a bad first pick.
No, Bryce Anderson. How about Chappelle?
A
lot of guys. We haven't even mentioned the leader of this defense, Torian York. So I'd stack all those defensive players, man. You guys would be picking offense. I'm going to be picking defense. It's just the way it works.
Well, your defense can't hit my quarterback, so I can just have him run around back there all day long until Walker comes open, man. I got you. I'm going to win this game.
Yeah, I will say that, I've started watching a little bit of the spring football games. I caught a little bit of Missouri. I still got some work to do on that one. And a little bit of Auburn. Honestly, they're not great to watch, right? Like it's a two-hand touch out there. So it ain't great.
Have you heard what Ole Miss is going to do? Did you hear that? They're doing a 7-on-7, right? So they're not even doing like a real spring game. So they're doing 7-on-7. I think they're drafting it. And then they're going to have like a dunking competition. They're going to have an obstacle course. I mean, they're trying to make this into a big show. And then they're having a hot dog eating contest with, what's that dude that can eat a buttload of hot dogs?
Asian guy?
Oh, what's his name? Anyway, he's supposed to be there. So, I mean, they're not even playing a real spring game. It's hilarious. But I think I hate it, but kind of like it a little bit.
I'm pretty sure that's garbage to watch.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little some observations here from the last week of practice and the scrimmage and things like that. I want to start with an area that is near and dear to my heart, the offensive line, baby, the offensive line. And look, we've talked about the fact that clearly this offensive line cannot get any worse than last year because it was that pathetic, right? That horrible. You know, Adazio might as well held the school up at gunpoint for his salary. Okay. This offensive line, on the other hand, now is progressing pretty good. You know, I've been watching, and there's things, just little technique-wise things, hand placement and where they're going there, eyes, where they're at there. And then most importantly, the feet, baby, the feet. Corey, you know how much I love to talk about that base.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about that base. You know what I mean?
It's all about the base.
It's all about the base. Ain't there a song, Philip?
Yeah.
There is.
Anyway.
But here's what I gather from that too is so they're teaching the basics, which is important. He was actually asked about the cohesiveness, which last pod I talked about a little bit, couldn't even actually pronounce it. And he said that they're not even focused on that yet. They're still just trying to teach people how to block, which is a little worrisome because there's got to be communication on that front line. So I get it. You got to start somewhere, but that's still a little scary to me that he's like, we're not even focused on being a cohesive unit yet.
Look, and I'll tell you this, this is coming from an offensive line coach, right? An old offensive line coach. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong because you haven't determined who the 5 guys playing up front are going to be. So to build cohesiveness when you don't know who's going to be up there doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, having said that, a lot of the drills are set up in 2-and-2 type situations, which means that you are working together with the other players at times. But let's go back to what he's talking about, right? He's talking about going back and really working on the effort and blocking for these guys because offensive line work, a lot of it is just effort. You know what I mean? You want to have some good technique, like I talk about with the base and the feet. But, a guy starts getting by you. Sometimes it's just a matter of start running your feet, just efforting to stay on him one way or another, right? And that's something that's been missing and lacking from this offensive line for a couple of years. And the ability to stay on blocks has been horrible. So just working on that, I mean, you're 100 times better, even if you're working 5 individuals even. Corey,
It's funny. It's funny you said that because watching the team last year, you say stay on blocks. I saw Foster and Robinson so many times not even block anyone. They would just nobody's around. I'm good. We're good. We're clean over here. I mean, it was crazy. The ball would be snapped and they would just come up and just look, but they wouldn't do anything.
They wouldn't touch a soul.
Nothing. I mean, it was ridiculous.
And that happened in pass blocking. It happened in run blocking too.
It happened every time they snapped the ball with those guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
Foster
hearing
was
about Robinson, and we're hearing a lot of things about Robinson as he prepares for the NFL and the NFL draft and all that stuff. And
Oh yeah.
he's apparently his meeting with teams love him when they meet with him. Like he's very intelligent as far as how he talks and things like that, especially with regards to football, right? Hopefully they're watching the tape because that dude can't play. He may be able to talk, but he can't play.
A projected first-round pick 2 years ago or something. They were like, if he comes out, he'll be a first-round pick.
Now he's going to be undrafted. Amazing.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard about the Reed Adams kid from Kansas? I heard he's been good. I mean, does he take a starting spot here?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I think that's one of the things that's coming out right now, and I do expect that Reed Adams, the guard from Kansas, transfer from Kansas, is going to end up taking one of the starting guard spots. And what does that mean for two guys which, have been a part of this program, but Cam Dewberry and Chase Besantis, who are probably the other two guys playing guard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you got to put the best 5 out there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
People are going to get hurt. You need 10 good offensive linemen. Maybe, I don't know, 8, 10. They're going to get hurt. They're going to have to revolve. They're going to get tired. And you don't know what Foster's going to bring. You have no idea what he's going to do.
Well,
no clue.
We'll talk about Foster, but here's the other thing that it also shows you, I think, how bad this group was coached last year, because Moss Adams is able, or Reed Adams, I always say Moss Adams. Reed Adams is able to come in and make such an impression very quickly here because of the fact that those other guys are so far behind. You know what I mean? Those other guys are so far behind. As those other guys show up and start to learn the techniques that they're teaching now and things like that, and start to progress, I think all of a sudden Reed Adams is gonna fit into the group, right? He's not gonna be so outstanding. I still believe he's one of your 2 starting guards in day 1 against Notre Dame. And so it'll be interesting to see which, whether Dewberry, Besantis, how those 2 guys end up playing into that as well. Does one of them maybe, like a Besantis, end up shifting back out to tackle? I like him better at guard, but it'll be interesting. He's got time.
Who's going to play center?
Yeah. So speaking of center, we got 3 guys playing center, right? Naboo has been playing, and he played a lot last year, so he's got a ton of reps. The other guy, TJ Shanahan, is a guy they've moved to center this year as well. And then
who is that?
He was a freshman last year.
Okay, so freshman.
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right.
And then
highly recruited, or
Hinton is one of the transfers. He's an older guy, right?
Okay.
And so all 3 of those guys have been splitting reps at center. I'll tell you one of the things that really is interesting to me with regards to that. And they've moved bodies there. They're getting guys reps here in the spring. Obviously, while Bryce Foster's out there, shot putting, and whatever. And these guys are starting to become leaders amongst that offensive line. And you know what else they've got? They've got 2 guys that are a little bit older, Naboo and Hinton, a guy that's a 4-year starter at another school, or a 4-year player at another school, right? So he's a guy that's coming in and really bringing some experience to the position, And then TJ Shanahan, a younger guy that's going to come in behind him and be able to learn as well. I think this takes Bryce Foster out of the picture. I think this takes Bryce Foster out of the picture, because when I see it, we've both seen him play. We've all seen him play, right? He has had issues, not only blocking, snapping the football, and all kinds of other stuff. And now, just like in other years, he's also missed spring, like he does every year. So, with this new coaching staff, I got to figure that they're going to appreciate how much further ahead these other 3 guys are than Bryce is when he gets here in the fall. Thoughts?
Is Bryce not allowed to practice at all while he's doing track? I mean, I never threw the shot put or the discus, but how time consuming is that? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Can you not tell me a few times, okay, I'm good, now let me go practice football? You know
Corey, you think it's like, okay, go throw shot put for 30 minutes and then we'll do our calisthenics and then you can show up, right when we start practice. Like, come on, man.
Up. I mean, I don't understand how time consuming is shot put. I don't know. I have no idea. Is it very time consuming?
I can imagine that when you're a guy that is trying to win a national championship in shot put, that you got to spend some time practicing. Yeah. I mean, if you're just going to be middle of the pack, then yeah, you could go 35 minutes, go practice real quick, and come back to football practice. Now, I think the other part is, and more.
So he wants to be middle of the pack football, is what you're saying. He's
Yeah,
middle
he
of the
does.
pack football, and he's okay.
Yes.
I got you.
He's got some passion. He's got some passion for track. And
Not a big effort guy, huh? Not a big effort guy. Gotcha.
here's the thing,
Don't be
though.
talking mess about my boy Moose Castle.
And here,
He was talking about that last time. He's not a big effort guy. I was like, oh, that's what you want. Yeah, somebody's not a big effort guy.
it's in question. We talk about practice. We talk about practice. Listen. With regards to Bryce, and here's the thing. The other part about it is football's kind of a physical sport, right? And so they can't accidentally go have him get hurt in a football practice while he's about to compete for in a track meet, right?
Well, they definitely can't on purpose hurt him in the football game.
So yeah, there's some issues there. Listen, I'm not worried about it because Bryce ain't playing this year. He's not going to play.
That's a bold statement.
He's not going to. He may get on the field for cleanup, mop up duty. That's about it.
All right, I can get that.
Well, I
Well,
don't see that. I see him playing.
here's the thing: is like you think you gotta be kind of like either the guy's amazing, which we know he's not, or your offense is really struggling if you can have a guy a part timer come in and take the starting position.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's no slight on Bryce Foster and his talent. It's the fact that he's part-time football. And listen, if Naboo and Hinton lose out to Bryce that is a part-time player, then it probably says a lot more about the quality of depth that we've got on that offensive line than anything else, right?
Agreed. What have you heard about this tight end Trey Watson? I heard he's been impressing a lot of people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so sticking with the offense, a couple of other guys that we've had stand out at tight end, Watson has been the guy that has been really showing out. I'll tell you, obviously Green is not out there, right? And we think he's going to be a difference maker if he's fully healthy coming back. I think he's a big part of it. But apparently Trey Watson is really showing out as far as catching the football and getting open, being able to run good routes. He's going to be a weapon for this offense. He may not be the starter, but he's going to be a weapon.
He's not the one from Purdue, is he? Where's he from?
No, he's not the one from Purdue. Man, if you know
the West Coast,
San Diego State, maybe.
Huh?
Was it San Diego State, maybe something like that?
Maybe one from out west. I can't remember.
Yeah. And so, he's going to be a part of it. I think the longer we go through all this process, Theo the Swede goes further and further down the depth chart, right? Like that dude's now like 17th string tight end at this point.
Well, he's been here for 10 years, so he's all right.
Poor guy. I mean, he's trying to learn football in playing in the SEC, right? Like that's going to be rough. But I think it's another weapon that we set out here, and it's probably a good thing that these tight ends are going to be weapons because, the receiving core we're not hearing a ton about, right? Nobody's really praising any one of those guys outside. I mean, as far as how they've been playing, in spite of the fact that
we were talking about Moose. It was Moose we were talking about.
I have seen some pretty good things out of Ja'Day Walker and out of Micah T. So I'll throw their names out there. So,
what about Moose?
Good stuff at tight end.
No Moose.
Yeah, Moose.
Not a high effort guy. Not a high effort guy. All the talent in the world is not effort.
He's excellent at one-handed catches. So he's still gonna get some opportunities. Don't you worry. He's gonna be our best receiver by the time it's all said and done.
Oh wow, best receiver, huh?
Well,
what about
I can't take it back now.
Okay. All right. Got that.
Another thing before we get to quarterback and Connor, running back. We've been talking running back some this off season. Some of it has gone through the process of like rumors of Le'Veon Moss and sort of maybe losing interest and transferring. There's been sort of the breakout of Reuben Owens, which of Corey, you have 100% taken, as your go-to, right? That's your guy.
All American. All American.
And then there's Daniels, of course, sitting there who doesn't ever get any respect. Well, I'm gonna tell you, this is listen up, because here goes. A couple years ago, remember I talked about Cooper.
Oh God!
On Moss.
You talk a lot. You talk about everybody.
The one time he was right, he has to keep on talking.
Notre Dame over here. He makes a million predictions and one comes right. Oh.
Hey, listen, that's big. It's one of those things that it's about, how much you emphasize things sometimes, So
emphasis.
That's emphasis, exactly. It's emphasis. And so Le'Veon Moss will be the number one tailback on this team in 2024.
Okay.
He is going to be the guy that carries the football on first and second down for this team.
No, incorrect. It's EJ Smith, man.
EJ Smith is not going to even see the field, so that's fine.
What's happened to that guy? I haven't heard anything about him.
It's because he wasn't very good at Stanford. I don't think he's going to be very good here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get a lot of PT. I'm afraid Moss might transfer before the season starts.
Le'Veon's going to be the number one guy, man. He's going to get the rock on this team. Ruben Owens is going to be the third down back. You know what everybody has been talking to that has said anything about Ruben Owens, and what I've seen from Ruben Owens is also that he's a hell of a playmaker with the ball in his hands in the sense of open space. He's a hell of a playmaker catching the football, right?
Yeah.
And I think he can do some things in that area, especially under this coaching staff, and they're going to use him that way. But he hasn't yet shown the ability to be the inside sort of down in, down out running back, right?
So he's got to be the guy that makes a 1 yard into a 4 yard carry, right? So and he doesn't have that ability yet to make 1 into 4. Now he can break and be gone. He can get him in chunks, but when it's about getting a couple extra yards on the line, that's where he's not excelling at this point. That's what I've heard.
And I think the thing that you're going to have to see is actually, no, forget that. I think they're going to use him to where his skill set is at, right? So you can expect him to be the guy in passing downs that's out there, and they split him out sometimes, and they're going to throw him the ball out of the backfield and different things.
Some wheel routes, baby.
Huh?
Some wheel routes. Let's do it.
Some wheel routes, the whole shebang. But when it's first and second down or even third down and short, and they're trying to run the football, it's going to be Le'Veon Moss and Amari Daniels, because those two guys will turn no gain into 4 yards. They're going to get downhill and create yards because of their physicality. Owens ain't there yet. Corey, I'm going to give you an opportunity to defend Mr. Owens because he's your guy.
No, the guy's the most talented back out of the three. I mean, yeah, you say he's bulked up. I've heard him talking about in Texas Ags. He's put on some weight. He's looking great. That's all he needs. He needs to learn. His offensive line blocks just a little bit for him. The guy's going to find the hole. He's going to get gone. It's going to happen. You'll see it this year. Number one guy. I'm afraid Moss might transfer just because he can just see what's coming. He's going to be like, oh, shit.
Yeah, he does see what's coming. This is the reason he's sticking around, because he's going to be the primary back here.
I don't think you're right.
Well, call me on it.
Hey, he's going to be our new and nice. He's going to be a do-everything guy.
Maybe Ruben Owens. How about a guy that's not on campus yet?
Yeah. I'm talking about that freshman?
Terry Bussey. How about that guy?
I'm excited to see this kid.
Yeah. He's got some Anaya Smith in him for sure. More faster. And
we don't even know where he's going to play yet. We don't know what he's going to do. He might play both ways. He might not play at all.
That's all I got to tell you.
He might not play at all.
I mean, I don't even know. And I know we haven't talked about defense yet, but I don't even know that we need him that bad at corner if we could really get some good use from him from the offense. I mean,
yeah, and that's
I guess it depends how our corners do, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting part. That's a great point, Philip. I mean, this year we've got really good depth at corner. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but so as a freshman, he might come in and be able to add something as a playmaker on offense without getting a ton of reps on defense. And over time, he may shift back to the defensive side. You never know, right? He's supposed to be that good of a corner. So, he's going to have some opportunities to grow through all that process. I'm excited just to see him get the ball in his hands from time to time, whether it's returning punts, kickoffs, little screen passes or something like that, right? I mean, I just want to see the guy in open space.
Hey, you said
Oh,
it
yeah.
right there. Who do you think's gonna return punts this year?
Well, Moose.
That's what I was thinking, Moose, but I don't know.
They're still trying to work. I think the tailbacks are getting some reps out there at kickoff return and things like that. But at the punt, I mean, like I said, why wouldn't you try to use a guy like Bussy and his explosiveness out there, right? But Moose is another guy that's caught punts for us before and done a pretty good job. The one thing you're always looking for is somebody that's going to be sure-handed too, right? Somebody that's not going to drop the ball. And so whoever holds the ball, that's who I'd have out there.
Yeah, I mean, you want to create some fun plays from there, but you definitely don't want to a bunch of 40-yard returns is great until you muff that one and then they score off of it. Then what did you really do, right? So securing the football on a punt is probably the most important part.
Yeah, and punt returns is the hardest one, right? Kickoff return, there's nobody around you when you're catching that football.
Right.
You got all the space in the world. You're nice and easy. Go take off running, get a 20-yard run in before you get in
smoke
trouble.
a cigarette, catch it, run.
Well, punt return, you may get slammed the moment you catch that thing. So you got to be a little bit of a crazy guy. It's a little dangerous out there. We call him Danger. Call him Danger.
Who's we?
I don't know.
I like it.
So the punt return. Let me go back to the offense real quick. Last position here, obviously the quarterback, and we've talked about this before. I think the last couple of weeks I've said it, and the coaching staff has reiterated it now, and that's the fact that it's Connor Wigman, who is sitting at number 1 right now, is still not 100% physically. They're not going to use him running the football anytime soon, but the fact of the matter is that, and everybody's sort of seen it already. Klein has seen it. Elko has seen it. The dude is in a different place when it comes to the instincts to play the position. Just feeling where the space is, where the routes are, feeling where the guys are coming open. And the dude, like he did last year, when he was healthy, is still, in spite of the fact that he's not 100% knowledgeable of the offense yet, right? He's not just, doesn't know exactly what's going on. He's got such a feel for it that he still puts balls in play and makes plays with that. I love him in this offense. I think he's going to excel because of that trait specifically. And I'm looking forward to seeing Connor. I'll let both of y'all.
Yeah, Connor's awesome. And Jalen, I think, is actually secure. I know you're going to disagree with this, Leo. I think Jalen's secured the number 2 spot as of now. I think that they like some of what Reed's done, but I think that Jalen's probably a step above him right now.
I agree. I think Jalen will be the number 2. And I'll tell you what, the only thing I know for a fact on this offense is Connor's going to be the quarterback. I don't know who's going to start at wide receiver. I don't know who's going to start at tight end, running back, or the offensive line. I don't know who the center's going to be. I'm not even sure who the hell the guards are going to be or tackles. I'm not sure if Zune's going to start at left tackle or not. I think he would.
Yeah.
I think Farley would start at right tackle, but I don't know who's going to start at tight end. Green, if he's healthy, maybe. But you're talking about this Watson guy playing well. Shit. It's a new coaching staff. I think they're going to give everybody a chance to compete, except for the quarterback. He's already said Connor's my quarterback. So that's all I know. And then on defense, I feel more confident about saying who's starting over there. But offensively, I think Connor and I don't even know if Moose is going to start. That's how because it's he's not a big effort guy.
That's a great point actually.
Reuben Owens
and Elko did come back and say Elko did come back and say that, look, Connor's coming in as the starter, but he's got to continue to compete to keep the starter, right? He's got to
Right.
continue to outperform those other two guys through the next, through this spring and through the fall camp in order to continue to be a starter when Notre Dame shows up. But you're right. He is the one guy that I feel most comfortable is going to be a starter on this offense. And there's not very many other people I can say that about.
No.
I feel really confident that Trey Zune is going to be a starter on this offensive line. But
I
am I
think so, too.
100%? No, I'm not
No.
100%, right?
Wow.
And every other position basically is a coin flip.
I mean,
Well, I think
Father
if
is right
Green's-
tackle. Go ahead.
I think if Green's healthy, you could confidently say that he's probably a starter here. I mean,
I don't know. It's a new coaching staff, new regime.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
They're going in saying, hey,
And they brought in Trey Watson, right? They were the ones that brought this
Yeah.
guy in, right? So there's
Yeah.
there's still competition. Now, I don't know if Green's going to be 100% anyway. That may
So it
not
may not
be-
matter.
But if he were, you'd think he's got a pretty good chance of at least being in getting the reps one or two, right? One or two.
right.
But with this team right now, this offense, everything's up for grabs, man. Everything's up for grabs,
Everything.
except for Connor Wigman.
Now, let's say, lo and behold, Connor does get hurt. Does that change the whole offense with this coaching staff, or is it going to be next man up? We're doing the same thing we're always doing? Because Connor has a different skill set than what we
Right.
saw the other two quarterbacks. The other two quarterbacks are more comparable than it is to Connor.
We're going to talk a little bit about Colin Klein here in just a second, and I'm going to get to that. That's a great question and a great thought process. And we don't know, right? I don't know. Oh, Colin, and when it comes down to it, he may just say exactly the same thing and freaking just keep running the same plays. But from what he said the other day, it appears to me that that's not the case, that they are going to put the players in their best position to succeed. And for Connor, that's a different set of plays than it is for Henderson, than it is for Marcel Reed. I fully believe that. Hopefully we don't have to find out because Connor plays throughout the year. But if he doesn't, I think that offense does shift a little bit more to a more run-heavy quarterback run offense, right? I think those two guys give you a little bit more on that. Let's talk a little bit about what we've seen so far defensively. All right.
Go ahead.
And I want to start up front with this defensive front and the front guys. And we talked about it the other day. I like DJ Hicks. I like Stewart. Eventually, Shamar Turner is going to be a part of that group. I'm going to tell you one guy that's going to start on this defense, and I have no doubt about it, and that's Nick Skirton, right? He has looked absolutely phenomenal. He's got a motor that doesn't stop. The dude's effort has been through the roof. And I have a feeling that this guy is going to be a transformational player for this defense because it really brings a skill set that this defense hasn't necessarily had before, that pure edge rusher that's also got that internal drive to just be unstoppable, right? I'm loving this dude. I think he's going to be big time. Philip, you got something to say here.
Yeah, so I think he also has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, right? So he met with Elko when Elko was here before, and he wanted to go to A&M. A&M is where he wanted to go.
He's a local guy.
Yeah, he's a local guy from Bryan. That's where he wanted to go. So he's got his opportunity now to play where he wants to play. He's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because the head coach is the guy that passed on him, right? And so he's got something to prove. And when you get somebody with a chip on their shoulder, they can get really dangerous. And so I don't know if I'm as absolute as you are, but I've heard great things, and I think he's going to play a part in this team anyway. I don't know if he starts.
Corey?
I listened to Hicks talk the other day in an interview, and he said, they asked him, what's the biggest difference between this coaching philosophy and the last one? He goes, this one's a 4-man front line. The other one was a 3, basically. He goes, that's the biggest difference. He goes, we're running 4 guys up front, 4 linemen. They ran 3 before. He goes, we're going to get after the quarterback, is what he said. And so they're going to get after him. If Skirton can be that guy on the end, If he takes Silla's, I think Silla would be the odd man out right now. Would be my guess. But he'd still get a lot of playing time. Defensive lineman, they rotate him.
I think
Every other play.
rotationally, right?
Yeah, it'll be rotation. I mean, Skirtin will be in there, third down for sure. Second, possibly. First down, he might get a breather on first down, But we have enough D line. I mean, we lost some depth, but I think he's doing a good job of building it back up. But yeah, Skirtin, I'm excited to see him play. I haven't seen anything on the guy.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit to that, and that's this. Last week we talked a little bit about the fact that there is some concern for us as far as the depth inside, not outside on defensive end. We got a ton of defensive ends, right? But more inside a defensive tackle. Corey, me and you both talked about sort of a little bit of concern there. I think one of the things that starts to help me feel better about that. I mean, obviously, like we talked, Shamar Turner is going to be playing inside. DJ Hicks is in there. But Dindy's seeming to move out of the mix, for more guys like Rodas Johnson, who's come in and is going to be a factor. Maybe Samu, the big guy inside occupying space. But aside from just that, Albert Regis, who we've talked about, who will be a part of that rotation. Not only that, but I think when you go into passing downs, whether it's second and extra long, third and long, you can move a guy like Skirtin at 280-something pounds inside as an inside rusher and bring Silla off the edge. You can bring a guy like Stewart inside, bring another guy more of a rusher off the edge, right? And so you can do some things like that with these type of players. They can take care of some of that depth issue inside. Don't you think?
I think so, but I don't know. It's we lost a lot of talent right there on the inside. And not just the two guys everybody talks about. I mean, you have what's his name that went out to USC, big kid. He played a lot of football. I mean, we lost a lot of talent. I mean, you still have some coming back. I mean, Regis, he had moments last year, right? What, he block a field goal or two, some extra points. I mean, he had some moments, but consistency. What we're looking for is consistency. We don't need one big play. We don't need guys taking plays off. We've seen that too many times. It's the effort. That's it.
100%.
We need.
100%. Philip, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still concerned. And I think I heard you guys talk about this maybe last pod about we're gonna get the true test the first week.
Yeah, right off the bat.
He's gonna be running it down the gut, and that's when we're gonna figure out what we actually have inside. If we can play well against them and the run, then I feel a lot more confident on how we do the rest of the year. If they start gashing us inside, whether we win or lose that game, they start gashing us inside, we could be in trouble for the year.
Yeah.
Well, it's all about the coaches changing their philosophy, see what their philosophy is on this game. Alejo and I talked about it last time. We think they should put pressure up in the box, make them throw the ball and beat you. Man up. We got those big cornerbacks now. We have athletes everywhere in the secondary, everywhere. The question mark is the middle of the field. I'm talking York is solid, but I'm talking about the defensive tackles. Who's the other linebacker? Who's playing strong safety? Free safety. Who's playing safety, period? I don't know.
Bryce Anderson.
Yeah,
he'll be there.
And look, that's you're absolutely correct. If you're sitting in there and you're in the second quarter of that Notre Dame game and they're absolutely gashing you up front, well, one is you better start bringing those safeties into the box, right? You better bring those safeties in the box and the heck with it, right? If they throw it on you, it is what it is, brother. But you can't let them bleed you to death at one drop of blood at a time, right?
Exactly.
Well, and apparently we got one of those safeties that could do that. What is this, Dalton? Dalton
Brooks.
Dalton Brooks. Apparently really good against the run. So that'll be interesting there.
So we spent a lot of time on the linebacker position the last couple of pods. Let's move. We're going to move to defensive backs here. So we talked about the front here. I want to go move to defensive backs, and I think this is an area where it's a true transformation from last year to this year. Remember last year, there was times, man, when there was no depth and there was issues and we were undersized. People were, just getting thrown up the ball. I feel like that's the biggest improvement for this team. Maybe the offensive line because it was so bad, right? But that might be the biggest improvement of this team based for athlete wise, right? Player wise. And a couple of things that are big are the depth at corner. And if you think about just outside corner with the guys that are lining up there, right? Between Thomas and Lee, and you've got Saunders, the one of the transfer guys, right? Mays, another one of the transfer guys. You know, we talked about the fact that Bussey's not even on campus yet. You know, Chappelle, another guy. And these are going to be the outside corners. One of the interesting things that I heard, and Corey, I know you love this guy, so I'm gonna let you talk about it, is the fact that Chappelle is basically the Swiss Army knife, right? He can line up anywhere. They're using him a lot in the nickel, but he can move and shift out to outside and play there as well. Thoughts?
I like him as a nickel. I like him being that Antonio, you know, the new version, getting in the backfield. I like him when he's aggressive. I don't know how big Chappelle is right offhand, but I like him better up in the line of
5'11".
scrimmage. 5'11". I like a guy, you know, 6'1", 6'2", covering the guys on the outside. I saw too many passes last year on jump balls. We got out jumped. Chappelle, I want him in the backfield. I want him causing chaos. Quarterbacks make more mistakes when they're under pressure. When they have time in the pocket, they're gonna eat us up. I mean, it's just the way it is.
I agree with you. I love him in the nickel, but I also know that, you know, defensive coordinators like to be able to do some things and be multiple at times, right? With the same personnel on the field. And I think he gives them that opportunity. Philip, what do you think?
I mean, I like him. I like what you said. I think especially you got some room there because, you know, if you get Lee and Ricks gets healthy and you have those guys on the field, then you can do a lot more with Chappelle, right? So, yeah, I like it. I don't know when Ricks is going to be ready to be out there, and I think that gives an opportunity for Lee right now to kind of show his stuff, because I think he's probably the kind of the next man up there.
Look,
and
here's the thing.
Then we get a lot of more options. What's that?
That's a great point, Philip, with Ricks. I mean, he's hurt right now. He's not. So, but here's the thing. Even if he was healthy, I'm not sure. I mean, look, Lee didn't necessarily get the same height, but that's a dude that has started in the Big 12 for a few years. He's experienced. He's got size. He's physical. I mean, he's going to be hard to beat out one way or the other, right? Ricks may be a year away from actually contributing to this defense once he to get healthy and then get it. You know, he's only a freshman, right? I mean, so you get some things there. But it doesn't. The crazy part is that we're not suffering because he's unhealthy, right? Like we've got enough depth that they're still able to go out there and put some quality players on the field. And I'll bring up a couple of other guys because we talked about Chappelle being that nickel spot, Corey. Another guy, those three freshmen from last year have really, really, really taken a step forward. So Bravion Rogers has been doing a great job at nickel as well, showing some of that physicality, right? He was an athlete coming out of small school when he came in, and the whole thing. And boy, it's starting to come together a little bit more for him this year. And I expect him to get in the mix in there as well. I think Chappelle's ultimately your nickel starter, but Bravion Rogers is going to get some reps.
Thank you.
Did you get another piece of pizza over there, Corey?
You got me a Coke Zero.
Oh, nice.
Why don't you say they might be one of our sponsors?
So that's another guy that's getting in the mix. I've talked about Javon Thomas, one of the freshmen from last year, and I think he's going to start at one of the corners. I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think he's starting at one of the corners.
Well, who's your starting then? Who's starting in the secondary? You can't start 10 guys in the secondary, Lejo.
Well, Lee and
you can't start Bryce Anderson, Chappelle, Rogers, Ricks, Lee.
I just told you at one of the outside corner spots, it's going to be Javon Thomas. I just told you the other outside corner spot's going to be Lee. Those are your two outside corners. I just told you your nickel is going to be Chappelle.
So if Ricks gets healthy,
He's just be a backup. Back up.
Gotcha.
Beep, beep,
Gotcha.
beep, beep. Back up.
Not
Listen.
sure what the
And then the two safety spots, because that's what you're asking me. Then what are you going to do with the two safety spots? Well, let me tell you.
Anderson and who?
Brooks.
Ratcliffe.
Oh, I have heard good stuff about Ratcliffe.
And look, Brooks is looking good too. I think the reason that you get a Ratcliffe guy and the reason he's going to end up taking the reps, and he's going to be more of the physical side of the safety, right? He's going to be a guy that walks up into the box a little bit more. Anderson's going to be more the free safety guy over the top, trying to get over to everything. And the only thing that is, the reason I'm saying Brooks over either one of those other two guys or those other two guys over Brooks is because I think Brooks still can use another year to really get his instincts sharpened. I think physically he's ready to go. I think he needs a little more reps, right? So
I don't know. I'd say, I like Chappelle at nickel. I think how big is this guy you're talking about starting at cornerback? Not Lee, but the other one. I know Lee's bigger.
Thomas,
Yeah.
6'1".
Okay, I can deal with that.
Listen, whether you can deal with it or not, he's going to start. So you're going to have to figure it out.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there.
Hey, that may be the one thing he gets right all year, and then we'll have to hear about it all next
You
year.
will be listening to
That's
that
another thing
for the
just
next
said.
2
He has
years.
like
I will just jump on that bandwagon right there. Add that to the Cooper thing. Boom.
He's probably going to transfer out too here pretty quick. Shit.
Listen, it is intriguing to me, this safety position. Ratcliffe is a big dude. He's a big dude. He's like a 6'2", 6'3" guy. He's gonna be something to deal with whenever you bring him into the box, physicality wise, right? I'm excited to see him play with this group. And as we talk about that, let's talk about sort of this coaching staff and some of the things that they've done and really made this roster about as good as you can expect it to be, man. I mean, you remember last year? There was all these issues in the secondary and everything else, and there was always injuries, and like you'd find a hard time struggling how to fill some of those holes. I don't think there's a problem like that. That problem's not there anymore. They have brought in experience, guys. And I love what Ratcliffe is, a guy that's got tons of time on the field, and he's going to step right in with that experience and be able to fill that hole as a senior, right? You're not throwing a freshman in there. You're throwing a senior in there, and I think that's big.
No, I agree with you. I think the coaches have done a great job addressing needs and getting the players it's weird how they've gotten the players they've wanted, it seems like. We wanted bigger DBs. We got them. We wanted good interior line. We wanted a pass rusher. We got him, right? We got a guy pass rush. We were worried about that last year. We were talking about who's going to come off the edge. Well, we know the answer now. It's crazy. Elko's come in a short period of time
and fix the roster.
Like, he can't recruit. He can't recruit. He didn't have to do that at Duke because they didn't have, So it's pretty impressive. You get a guy that can coach and he can get talent. It's a winning recipe right there.
Let me ask you, Philip, this about Elko. Look, I am super, super excited at the fact that he's not a blow smoke up your ass kind of dude, right? Like he gets in there and it's not like, man, everybody is playing like freaking Hall of Famers and yada, 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 right? Like he specifically goes in and tells you, like, we got a long way to go. We don't look that good right now. It's early. We keep getting better and things are good in that sense, but we got a long way to go. Philip?
It reminds me a little bit of like if you listen to Kirby talk, right? So it's like, hey, we're not where we need to be, and it's ugly out there still, And so he's his biggest critic. He's not going to blow smoke. Makes me a little concerned some of the things he said, but I also know that like he's his biggest critic, and I don't know. I mean, they're not where he wants to be, which is good. If you'd have talked to Jimbo by now, like everything's awesome and everybody's doing great and everybody's on track, right? Which we all know was not the truth. So I feel like we're getting closer to the real story here. If not, he's actually probably, saying the team's worse than it actually is, right? Like kind of a Kirby Smart kind of thing.
And Corey, listen, if this team next year goes 8-4 or 7-5, just like Jimbo's did, at least it's better because we didn't have to listen to Jimbo, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people will still be calling for his head if we go 7-5. Everybody will be pissed because we're going to pick the games we lost, and I'm sure games that we picked that they wouldn't lose. I'm sure everybody's picking us to beat Notre Dame. We got a brand new team, basically, brand new players. I mean, shit, half the team turned over, is it not? I mean, if you look at it,
yeah.
I mean, between defense and offense, special teams, and shit, coaching staff is all brand new. Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready. I'm just ready.
Notre Dame's going to be
started next week. I'd be ready.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's going to be a big. I call that a toss-up game, honestly, because it's our first game.
I think Notre Dame's going to beat us.
You think they're just going to beat us? You think?
I don't think. I mean, it's our first game. New coach. Notre Dame has a system. We've seen it work. They have big players, big running backs. Unless we come out and just surprise the hell out of me, I don't see us stopping that the first game of the season. I think it's going to be. I wish we started with one of our shitty games.
I'm going to say this. I'm not throwing Notre Dame in there as a loss right off the bat, and I still have a lot to sort of evaluate on that end. But look, he's 100% correct, right? Shit. You guys know how many times I switched locations when I was coaching. I mean, I felt like we were teaching a new offense every other year, right? And so I've been there. What they're going through, and he's absolutely correct. I mean, because right now and where they're at today, they've only had a handful of practices and 6 practices,
right?
And so, these players are still learning how to run drills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're still learning every little thing about not to mention the playbook and the plays and the reads and everything else. I mean, there's a lot of things going on in there, and they're still learning. And by the time spring football is done, you're probably going to feel pretty comfortable with the fact that, hey, these guys know how we want them to practice by now. But they're not going to be 100% on the playbook yet. That offense is not going to be executing at a high level yet. Defensively, you always come along a lot quicker because defense is more about effort and leverage and those types of things. So you're going to be further ahead defensively, but you're still going to have a long ways to go with all the little wrinkles that, Elko likes to put into stuff like that. Right. And so I do appreciate what he said in that press conference. I appreciate the fact that he's letting people understand, like, look, we've got a lot of work to do here because of the fact that we're a first-year team, a first-year coaching squad with a bunch of new players and all those things. I think that's 100% true. We'll see how far they get by the time from here to Notre Dame, but that's awesome. I'll tell you one other thing. Colin Klein. Look, he left his alma mater. He left his alma mater to come be the offensive coordinator here at Texas A&M because of the fact that if he can succeed here, if he can take this offense a step up, he's going to end up a head coach in a year, 2 years. I guarantee you that. He will be a head coach in 2 years. You know what I loved about it?
Texas Tech likes to pull our offensive coordinators, so maybe he's the next coach at Texas Tech.
Maybe.
I love the way Owens guarantees. There's always some guarantee. Guarantee.
Well, this one was qualified. He was qualified because I said if he succeeds here.
Yeah, guarantee it. Guarantee it. 100%. Here we go.
But as he talked about what they're doing with this offense, he said, look, we're exposing these guys to a bunch of concepts, right? Right now we're exposing them to all the concepts. And he did, then he talked about the fact that while they're doing that, then they're also bringing it down into the details because it is taking advantage of leverage and angles. And boy, when you talk about developing an offensive system That's what you look at. Okay, which formations allow us some advantage in leverage, some advantage in angles, right? And then the thing that he talked about that I loved even more is once you establish sort of that group of plays, that bread and butter, you package plays. Something Jimbo Fisher just never freaking figured out, right? Like, okay, if you're running this play here, we're going to package that with a play action. We're going to package that maybe with a screen. We're going to package that with maybe a reverse or something, with a counter. And that way it all looks the same, but at the same time, you're attacking different areas of the field. And that is simple offensive football. Also goes to the question you had earlier, Corey, with regards to the quarterbacks, right? If the quarterback goes, he was talking about the fact that no, when I meet with these quarterbacks, we talk about the things that they're doing well. What are the things that this guy is better at? What are the things that this other guy is better at? And let's make sure we're putting those guys in those positions. Thoughts on Colin Klein, fellas?
I'm excited. I'm excited for him. I think he's going to develop a playbook and make adjustments depending on where the talent lies. Where before it was just kind of like we're running this offense no matter who's behind there, who we have, where our talent is. The only thing that Jimbo kind of did okay was get Anais the ball, which I think was important. It's probably the only reason they had any success. But other than that, he really didn't play into anybody else's strengths as much as he could have. That being said, if Marcel Reed leaves or Jalen Henderson, the good news is there's some transfer portal news. Eli Stowers is in the transfer portal. We could bring him back as a quarterback. Or maybe, you know what, we may need a night tight end. So
we're just going to ignore that. Corey, comments on Colin Klein.
Where did he go? To UTEP? Is that where he was at? He didn't even play where the hell he was at.
New Mexico State, I think. It was the Aggie. It was the other Aggies, wasn't it?
There.
Yeah.
Tell you what,
he hit the transfer portal.
Klein. The thing I'm excited about between Klein and Elko's been here before. He knows the talent and everything A&M had. I think that's why he's excited he came back. Klein came here. If he can make that offense in K-State work with that group of guys, this right here should be easy, right? You would think it would be because you're like, my quarterback's more talented. My position players are more talented. It only makes sense that it should be better. It's going to come down to, don't even say execution, but I'm going to say they got it. That's it. I mean, you got better players you're coaching now. I mean, it only makes sense, right? So
well,
it should be
Corey, but you're also against a better defenses day in, day out, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing though, right? And to your point on the execution part, one of the things that he said the other day was, and there's going to be times when one player or another doesn't execute, and we still got to go make a play, right? And so that's going to happen. What we're going to do is try to put our players in the best position for them to be able to execute, right? For them to be able to accomplish those goals. Now, hey, look, that could all be coach talk, right? And when he gets out there on the field, he may call the same exact plays and he may, same whatever. It doesn't matter. But at least unlike the guy prior to this year, right? He's considering all these things, right? He's thinking about these things. He's not the guy telling us that every offense is the same.
Sure. I'll tell you what makes me nervous is y'all talking about this offensive line like they've never played football before. That makes me nervous, especially against Notre Dame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we know it was the weak link last year on this team, both sides of the ball, no questions asked, offensive line, right?
Yeah.
So, they've got to get a lot better, but it also should give you a little bit of enthusiasm of the fact that we believe talent-wise they're good enough, and now they're actually getting coaching. So even if they go from the worst offensive line in college football to mediocre, the players around them are good enough that this offense can excel, right?
Right.
Questions from the tailgate.
Good.
First one here. Not much noise about the wide receivers coming out of camp. Is that a concern? Corey, why don't you start us off?
No, it's all new. I mean, hell, I don't even know what kind of offense they're going to run. I know one thing I know about Klein. He turned that kid Vaughn or whatever his name was that plays for the Cowboys. The guy's 5'5", a buck 20 into an All-American. He's going to find the right guys that he wants to get the ball to, and he's going to get on the ball. I don't even know if wide receivers are going to matter that much. They didn't. I can name a couple from Kansas State, but I can't name that many. You know, the guys from Kansas State were there before Klein. The guys I'm thinking of, the guy Lockhart or whatever his name was, or Lockhart. What's the guy? Lockett. Guy
Lockett.
Seattle.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's an all-pro in the NFL. Okay, yeah, he's pretty good.
Did he play for Klein?
No,
That's what I'm saying.
he might have
didn't need
played
it.
with Klein.
But I mean, tight ends, he's gonna get the guys the ball. I bet it doesn't matter the wide receivers. Honestly, they're gonna be fine.
Yeah,
I could see some of these tight end position people
Yeah.
be playing a wide receiver spot. So, you know, I think you're going to see he may put some bigger tight ends out there for his screens and things like that. I think they're being quiet about the wide receivers on purpose right now. Honestly, I think they're trying to keep the hype down on them, and then we'll see what they come out with and do on game one. But I think they're not talking a lot about.
I'm not. Absolutely no concern for me. No concern for me for all the reasons that you guys talked about. You know, the fact that the tight ends are probably going to be a weapon on this offense. I think the tailbacks,
Reuben Owens
as a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield. But here's the other thing to me, and that's that while you may not have like this, superstar talent at wide receiver this very second on this roster, you've got a lot of really good guys, and the scheme itself is going to get these guys open, so much more open than they have been in the past over the last couple of years with Jimbo's offense. So when you talk about getting, plays out of your wide receivers, you're going to have guys like Walker, like Thomas, like Moose, like Micah, like what's his name? The transfer Barber. So you're going to have all those guys, and now playing in a scheme that actually creates openings for you. Not just one-on-one, go beat your guy, but actually creates openings for you with some rub routes and some different things and double moves and stuff like that. I think this wide receiver group is going to be perfectly fine. Depth-wise is the big thing. They've got a lot of depth, a lot of different guys. And with the tight end group, like you brought up, Philip, I think that takes pressure off them. I'm not concerned at all.
No, either.
Question 2. Lots of talk about all the attrition this offseason that has already happened. And lots of talk about how active the transfer portal is going to be after spring. Somehow, it appears that this is as deep a team as the Aggies have had in a few years. How does that happen?
Jimbo sucked. What do you want me to say? Jimbo sucked. He promised people things and he couldn't go through. Elko doesn't promise shit. He just tells you, hey, we're going to get the best guys out there, and people believe him. He's not Elko's not the salesman Jimbo was, and we don't need that. We need a coach.
Right.
That's what he's doing. He's coaching. These guys respect that. They don't respect somebody coming in there lying to them, saying, hey.
Yeah, guys. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban, they don't have to sit there and talk to people and talk all this shit up, right? They just go in there and produce. Phil, what are your thoughts?
Well, obviously the transfer portal, he was able to really utilize that in a smart way. Corey talked about it earlier. Like, he got the people that he wanted for the spots he needed. When you have a better transfer class than Ole Miss, you probably had a pretty good transfer class for the year, right? So he was able to do that in a very short period of time when, we're like, holy cow, he's losing everybody. Everybody's leaving, you were worried about it, weren't you, Alejo?
Yeah, we were. We talked about it. We talked about who was leaving.
Yeah,
we didn't want to lose Nolan. We didn't want to lose Stewart, but
right.
They're gone. We
They're
can't.
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, screw them. They're gone. No offense. I mean, I like the guys. Screw them.
And here's the thing, look, this doesn't. It's not just Jimbo either, but this applies to Jimbo. It applies to Sumlin before Jimbo too. They recruited freshmen every year that were so highly touted and exciting, and people wanted to see them. And every year they were throwing all these freshmen out on the field to go play. And every year that young team got their ass kicked, right? When they went and played against teams like Alabama, teams like whatever, that play experienced players and guys that are upperclassmen. And you know what Elko said? The heck with it, man. The heck with it. Everybody was talking about everybody that's leaving and all this or whatever. And they're talking about, look, the freshman class, a couple people left, whatever. Okay, whatever. But we're not going to replace them with a bunch of freshmen. We're not going to replace them with a bunch of, guys that haven't played. We're going to bring in guys that have got playing time and experience. And this team is going to be old, right? It's going to be juniors and seniors on the field. And that's huge to me. That's huge to me because now they've got this depth, and it's actually useful depth. It's not a bunch of young guys trying to acclimate to college football. It's a bunch of guys that have been around college football that are trying to take their game to a next level. And I'm excited about that. I am really, really impressed with what he has done as far as roster management, using the transfer portal field, which you brought up, and using in the recruiting as well, right? He's brought in pieces to continue to bring those guys up. I don't think anybody could have done a better job of building this roster than what they've done so far. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I believe you should build a roster through recruiting and then fill gaps with NIL or whatever, not NIL, but the transfer portal. Yeah, I don't think you should depend on the transfer portal like Kiffin does over at Ole Miss, but he can't recruit like A&M does, and it's proven. Even when he gets those guys, he loses them to Ohio State or whatever the hell. But they, that's what I think he's done a great job, especially in a short period of time. He's filled the gaps, and as long as I'd rather recruit and do what George has done and build your classes, bring in the talent, let them play a little bit. You don't have to depend on them.
Right.
Unless you have somebody like a Brock Bowers, it's just
right.
a unicorn. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I mean, I'd love to have a couple receivers sitting on the bench that are 5 stars that might get in the game. You're like, oh, man, I got a special. He's gonna be good in a year or two. I'd love to have that. I don't know if we do.
Well, and I think, you look at it, you get a bunch of 5-star people in here, freshmen just starting. They're going to get, first of all, they're just going to get beat quite a bit and more than they've ever experienced before. Because these 5-star guys never had a problem with getting beat by anybody throughout high school. And then all of a sudden they come and they're getting beat instead of having that year to develop. And so to your point, Alejo, having, a more tenured starting group for these freshmen to learn from is important.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, you go look at the teams that win, and you go talk about Kirby Smart in Georgia, you talk about Nick Saban in Alabama, and those guys recruited all kinds of 5-star players, and all those 5-star players usually sat as freshmen, right? Did some of them get reps and this? Yeah, sure enough. But, the great majority sat as freshmen and then ended up coming up, over the years and taking those positions and ended up in the NFL, right? And that's what you have to develop.
They knew they only needed 1 year.
Yeah.
They knew they're like, I can wait behind this guy for 2 years.
Yeah.
I just got to win the spot the third year, play really well, and then I'll go to the NFL.
That's it. That's the secret to success.
This may be our last podcast before the spring game. We still just trying to figure out whether we want to have one right before or we're going to just do one right after. So
let me know.
With that in mind, I want to get one thought from each of you, prediction or whatever on spring game. Corey, why don't you start us out?
Prediction on the spring game. We will not learn a damn thing about this football team on the spring game because not all the players will be here. I think we'll get a better idea who might be leaving the program instead of who is not leaving. Does that make sense? If we don't see Mr. Sleeves or No Sleeves out there playing very much, Probably not a good sign because he doesn't have a lot of effort. Evidently, he didn't bring it. No, that's all I got.
Philip, one prediction, observation, something to say about the spring program, the spring game.
Well, just tamper your expectations and then you won't be disappointed. Because to Corey's point, it's not going to be, you're not going to learn a whole lot.
That's all my life.
Listen, I'm going to disagree with both of you on this. I think you're still going to learn a lot because you're talking about not knowing absolutely anything about the scheme at all, offensively, defensively, what this thing's going to look like. And so just the fact that we're going to be able to see them line up and run some plays, I think you're already picking up a lot. I still agree with you on the side of the fact that it's going to be messy. It's going to be sloppy. There's still a lot, to go, a lot of learning to go. You're going to have a lot of question marks after the game, right? But I'm excited. I'm excited to see it because I want to see an offense that can actually move the football. That is not predictable and just like one-minded, right? I'm ready for that. I'm excited about that. And so this is the opportunity for all these guys to finish 3 weeks of practices and go show out. Let's make it an exhibition, baby. That's what I want to see.
Sounds good.
Gig 'em Aggies, AP,
There it is.
C-Money, par. Out. Thanks, guys.
Yes.